It was just a typical day on the farm when a woman, stranded with a broken car, knocked on the farmer's door. What happened next was something he would never have expected. As she stepped into his barn, he was left stunned, unable to believe what he was seeing. Tom Harris had lived on his family farm for over 30 years. The fields, the animals, the barn, these were his world. He wasn't one for much company, preferring the solitude of the land and the quiet, hard work it required. His days usually followed a familiar rhythm: wake up early, tend to the crops, check the animals, and spend the evening in his small farmhouse, quietly reflecting on the work he had done. He didn't mind the silence, it was a comfort, but today everything was about to change. As Tom finished up his chores, wiping the sweat from his brow, he noticed a car parked by the side of the road near the entrance to his farm. At first he thought nothing of it. There were often travelers passing through, but as he got closer, he saw a woman standing beside the vehicle, looking confused and frustrated. Tom's first instinct was to keep going. He didn't much care for strangers and figured she would eventually find help. But something made him stop. Maybe it was the look of helplessness in her eyes, or the way she stood, alone and unsure. He approached her slowly, trying to be polite without getting too involved. "You need help with something?" he asked, his voice deep and rough from years of hard work. The woman turned, visibly relieved. "Yes, actually," she said, her voice sounding both embarrassed and exhausted. "My car broke down and I'm not sure what to do. I was hoping I could get a jump or maybe a phone signal to call for a tow truck." Tom looked at the car. It was a newer model, sleek and shiny, a stark contrast to the weathered and worn farm equipment he was used to. His farm was stuck in time, a place where nothing fancy ever entered. But there she was, this young woman, out of place on his land, asking for help. "I can help you with that," Tom replied, despite his hesitation. "But I don't have much in the way of a phone signal here. You're welcome to come inside for a bit while I check the car." The woman smiled gratefully and nodded, following Tom down the dirt path toward his barn. It wasn't far, but the barn was his favorite part of the farm. It had stood there for generations, filled with tools, hay, and equipment that had been used by his ancestors. It was a place of memories, where every corner held a piece of his family's history. He rarely let anyone inside, but for some reason he didn't mind this woman seeing it. As they entered the barn, the woman looked around, taking in the old farming equipment, the stacks of hay, and the rustic, time-worn beams. "This place has so much character," she commented, a smile lighting up her face. Tom felt an unexpected warmth as he watched her admire the barn. He'd always thought of it as just a working space, but she seemed to see it in a different light, a place of history, of stories long forgotten. Just as Tom was about to turn toward the car, something unusual caught his eye. Near the back of the barn, partially hidden behind a pile of old tools and crates, something glinted in the dim light. It was a reflection, a strange shimmer that didn't quite belong. He stepped closer, the woman still occupied with looking around the barn. As he moved the crates aside, his heart skipped a beat. There, lying beneath the dust and forgotten relics, was something he hadn't seen in years. A locked chest, hidden away, just waiting to be discovered. Tom's heart raced as he crouched down beside the old chest, its tarnished lock still intact, despite the years of neglect. The reflection he had seen earlier wasn't just a trick of the light, it had been real. This chest, buried under layers of dust and forgotten memories, was now at the center of his attention. It wasn't just any chest, it looked ancient, as if it had been left behind for a reason. For a moment, Tom hesitated. He'd lived on this farm all his life, surrounded by his family's history. But this felt different. His hands shook slightly as he reached for the lock. The chest had been here for years, possibly decades. What was inside? Why had it been hidden so well? And why, of all days, had it been revealed now, just as this stranger had entered his life? The woman, still standing near the back of the barn, noticed him crouching beside the chest. "What's that?" she asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. She walked over slowly, her footsteps cautious, but eager to know more. Tom didn't answer at first. Instead, he inspected the lock, which had a strange engraving on it, an intricate design that seemed familiar, yet foreign. It reminded him of the old family heirlooms his grandfather used to talk about. items that had been passed down through generations. He wondered if this chest could be one of those items, one that had been forgotten but not lost. With a sharp pull, Tom broke the rusted lock open. The lid creaked loudly as it slowly lifted, revealing the contents inside. He held his breath as he peered in, expecting to find old papers, maybe some forgotten tools, but what he found took him completely by surprise. Inside the chest were several old, weathered books and scrolls, but beneath them, nestled at the very bottom, was a small, ornate box. It looked like a jewelry box, but it was heavier, and the material seemed different, more like stone than wood. There were markings etched into the surface, symbols that Tom didn't recognize, but they seemed almost alive, as if they were shifting before his eyes. Tom's hands trembled as he reached for the box. The moment his fingers touched it, he felt a jolt of electricity surge through his body, as though the box had awakened from a deep slumber. He quickly pulled his hand away, startled by the sensation. "Are you okay?" the woman asked, noticing his sudden movement. Tom nodded quickly, brushing off the shock, though his mind raced. What kind of power was this? Why did this box feel so unusual? He carefully lifted the box out of the chest, his eyes fixed on the strange symbols. He had to know what was inside. There was something pulling him toward it, something he couldn't explain. The barn, which had always felt like home, now seemed to hold an energy that was foreign to him, as if this discovery was changing the very fabric of the space. "Do you think it's a treasure?" the woman asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She had moved closer, her curiosity piqued. Tom didn't know how to answer. He wasn't sure what it was, but one thing was certain. The chest had held something much more valuable than he could have ever imagined, and now it was in his hands. Slowly he opened the box. Inside he found a small, intricately carved pendant along with a note. The note, written in a language he didn't understand, was old, its edges frayed and yellowed with age, but one word stood out, clear as day: legacy. Tom's heart raced as he stared at the small pendant and the note that had come with it. The strange symbols on the note were unlike anything he had seen before. It wasn't in English or any language he could recognize, yet the word legacy stood out as clear as day. The pendant, delicate yet powerful, seemed to glow faintly in the dim light of the barn, casting an eerie aura around Tom. The woman, still standing near the barn's entrance, watched him intently. "What is it? What's inside the box?" she asked, her voice filled with curiosity and a hint of concern. Tom's hands shook as he lifted the pendant from the box. It was beautifully crafted with intricate details that seemed to tell a story of its own. As he held it, he could almost feel the weight of history pressing down on him. This wasn't just some antique trinket. It was part of something far bigger, something that had been hidden for generations. He glanced at the note again, trying to make sense of the foreign language. Though the rest of the message was indecipherable, the word legacy hung in the air like a heavy burden. What was this legacy? Why had it been kept secret for so long? His thoughts were interrupted when he heard the sound of footsteps behind him. The woman had moved closer, her eyes fixed on the pendant. "Do you think it's worth something?" she asked, a bit more urgent now. Tom looked at her, a sense of unease rising within him. "I don't know," he replied, his voice low and cautious, "but I think it's more than just money. This feels like a key to something." A sudden realization hit him. The barn, the chest, the pendant. It wasn't just about treasure or wealth. It was about the legacy of his family, something that had been passed down through generations and hidden away. And now, after all these years, it was finally being revealed. As he stood there holding the pendant in his hands, a strange vision flashed before his eyes. He saw images of his ancestors working on this very land, guarding secrets and artifacts like this one, hiding them away to protect something much larger than just gold or jewels. This pendant wasn't just a relic, it was part of a story, part of a legacy that had been woven into the very fabric of his family history. Tom felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. This discovery wasn't just about him, it was about his family's past, about the stories and secrets that had been passed down through the ages. He had uncovered the legacy, but now he had to decide what to do with it. As he looked at the woman who had watched him closely this whole time, he realized that his life was about to change forever. The barn had revealed its secret, but now Tom had to figure out how to carry that secret into the future. The legacy was his to protect, but at what cost?